Welcome to episode 76 of New Money Talks.
Yeah. We got Tony in the house.
What's up?
Season
What's up?
2.
Season two, episode 76.
We took a little break. Now we're back season 2. Season 1 was 75 episodes. So go check those out if you haven't.
Yeah.
Season 2 will be another 75.
I'm proud of you guys. Honestly, like, it's been about a year since I was here last, and you guys still kept it running strong. You didn't give up at any point. That's a lot of episodes. Definitely more than most podcasts. So good for
Yeah,
you.
I think 99% of podcasts don't make it past episode 20.
Yep.
Jeez.
So, and then I think 99% of those don't make it past like 100.
Well, I didn't think we'd make it
getting
past 75. Now we're at 76. So
We're
I'm
at
happy.
76, chugging
Yeah,
along.
I'm
Let's
chugging
go.
along. No, but yeah, Tony's been on before. OG in the space, OG in e-commerce, dropshipping, media buying, affiliate, the whole nine. He's done it for years. If you haven't seen his last episode, check it out.
Yeah, we'll link it in the description.
We'll link it down below. And he's a founder of a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm happy we're doing this. I know since last time we talked, your tech company's probably grown a whole bunch. You said a lot of new updates, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's really started to unfold into everything that we had envisioned. I mean, we started a little over a year ago just as a tool to help amplify media buying and speed by outputting high quality copy. Now we're a whole launching and optimization suite. So we have a direct integration with Meta. Pushing your ads on your behalf for you is really our next goal, and chipping away at different degrees of autonomy. And essentially, we're about a quarter or maybe 2 quarters away from having the power of a junior media buyer inside of your ad account to be running ads on your behalf, to the point where you're able to just have high-level media buyers sort of inspecting that, 10xing your workflows and your output and your iteration testing, split testing. And right now, our real customers that are loving it, and what we're seeing is really high-powered brands that are running a ton of ads, and also marketing agencies. So it's been really cool to see all of that unfold. It's very exciting stuff. Got a great team that's starting to be built out as well. So really excited about it.
That's sick. I didn't know you were adding some of those features to it, or that you've
that's
added
killer.
it since. That's going to be cool. What I guess if you had to explain it to like a 5-year-old for those that haven't watched the last episode, like what is ad copy AI? And are you rebranding it? Is that what you're sticking with long term?
You're the second person to ask me that this week, because I did a podcast with Jay Feldman earlier this week, which was fun, and he asked me the same thing. And honestly, it's sort of like internal joke that we've had is like, should we change it? Should we keep it? Like, there's different ways that you could turn the wordplay into it, but copy and paste your ads because it's very simple. And we're gonna have a whole native creative library on there as well for you.
That's gonna be so sick.
So you could upload your stuff and then just have it sent off to Facebook on your behalf. But right now, no plans to change. The biggest thing that we're focusing on is just shipping the best product possible and making an impact in people's businesses. So one thing that we've seen that is just continuing to iterate and listen to what people want to hear. We've done some pretty wild stunts in the process over the past year to really understand what people want and getting to understand people's needs as well, which has all worked out. And now it's all starting to unfold, and we're at a really serious inflection point where I think we're suited for a really solid year of growth.
I'm curious, because you said they'll pretty much take over a junior media buyer in a sense.
Yeah.
Like what do you consider a junior media buyer? Like what scale of spend in a sense too?
So I guess let me parlay this into answering Kyle's question, because I never really fully answered that.
Yeah.
In simpler terms, it's a automated and easier way to run your Facebook ads by using AI. What we do is have the ability to hook up to your Facebook ad account, understand and digest all of the data that you have, your best performing ads, and then what we develop is something called brand voice. So from that, we're able to develop the ethos and how you speak to your customers, pretty much baked into every single asset that you create on the platform. From there, uploading your assets and being able to push those to Facebook and get dozens of iterations in a matter of seconds, rather than manually duplicating stuff out and just trying to run ads the old way by way of being stuck in a clunky ads manager with an overwhelming amount of things to mess with. So to make it simpler, what we want to do is simplify all of those fields and stuff that you're doing, and be able to run more ads at a greater pace.
For sure. Got you. Because it's kind of funny, because new guys in e-commerce, they always ask how do I scale the brand? And the real thing is you just spend more money, obviously, on Meta and Instagram. But then the question is, how do you spend more money? Profitably, efficiently. And I feel like what you're doing kind of takes the whole 18 to 25-year-old out of the picture and actually uses data properly and actually make real data-driven decisions. So I'm actually curious too, because pretty much you have to train the software to make these decisions, right?
Yeah.
So like what are you telling the software to say like, hey, when should you turn off the ads? Like when should you boost the budget of the ads? Like kind of what does that algorithm look like in the back? And I'm very curious of that too.
That's a part that we're still developing right now.
Okay.
And essentially it's going to be the best way to describe it is like as if you're bowling and you have the guardrails on the side, right? So we could bake in stop losses, something that's going to be way faster than automated rules. Like I'm not sure if you're familiar with RevealBot or not. Like they speed up, like you're able to run every 5 minutes. So when we're running through the API, we could do similar, if not shorter time instances to actually update your ads and read what you're doing. The big thing, especially for people that are spending a significant amount of media per day, and what I want to implement on my own accounts to sort of use as a sandbox, is understanding where your budget's going as well, like hour over hour in real time. Because with Meta, a lot of people are saying it's not spending properly, it's going to the wrong places. We want to sort of bake in those controls and see if we can do anything better to help understand where certain things are going. But overall, the next things that we want to accomplish, in your question, circling back to that,
as in how are you telling the software what decision to make?
Yeah, so we bake in like based on you telling us what your target CPA is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you'll tell us a customer's worth $50 to you. How much are you willing to go below and above that, right? So that's what we're rolling out into like the 3.0 version that's coming over the next quarter. Right now, we're baking in all the different like nuances and customizations that people like for different schools of media buying and how they prefer to run their ads. Like, and that's one of the big things that we love, and what we were able to learn a lot from was. And knowing that there's demand there, is that people dug deeper, right? So they started utilizing the ad launching feature where we were pushing their ads for them, and we rolled out a very basic version. And there was actually a time last year, I don't know if you guys knew, we actually made a free plan. So you didn't need to even enter a credit card, you could use it. We like reduced our MRR in doing that because obviously people are going to go free. But the number one thing that we valued more than anything is understanding what people want to see. And when people dig deeper, that there's promise, right? So an easy way to look at this is like the iPhone, right? All of these apps started popping up in the App Store, like a flashlight or drinking a beer, like all these things that seem like they don't make sense, or even like a calculator. A lot of the base things were not on the iPhone originally. And then you have app creators that are adding all of these apps on there, like, okay, maybe we should bake this into iOS, right? So we rolled out our basic version of the software, and then people are like, all right, well, can we do dynamic ads? Could we run CBOs? Could we add it into existing ad sets? And that's our immediate feedback loop, that people are not only using it, but they want to see more out of the actual functionality. So that was when we rolled out our MVP, and now continuing to iterate and add more month over month.
And sorry, go.
I was just gonna say, like, at what point is it like, are you maybe focusing on too many features? Because there's so many things that you can do.
Yep.
Like one question that pops in my head is like tracking and attribution. It's like if you do want to add those automated rules into Facebook through your tool, then it's like how do you know that there's a source of truth aggregating the data properly to cut things, to scale things, et cetera, when a lot of people are relying on like outside sources like Triple Whale, Hyros. So like I guess number one is that something that you plan on baking in? And number two is, at what point like do you make the decision to, hey, we're going to be specialized in this one thing instead of getting spread thin with too many things?
For sure. And so the 2 points of that question. So number one, like we only want to specialize in Meta. A lot of people have asked, can you do TikTok? Can you do Google? And we just want to get very, very good at Meta. I think depth over width is really important, especially when you're focusing on something such as someone else's ad spend.
Yeah.
So we're married to Meta at this moment. And I mean, we don't see them going anywhere, right? They just had their most profitable quarter ever, first ever dividends. Advertisers spending more than ever. A lot of people complain that it's not working, but they're not probably doing it the right way.
Yeah.
It's just gotten more nuanced. But by way of attribution, that's one thing that's on our roadmap for this year as well. So we have thought of the ideas of just doing simple integrations with platforms such as Hyros, Triple Whale, or even doing another sort of server side that we could sort of bake into our own platform. My CTO is really speccing that out over the next quarter, and we're going to see what is like the best decision to make, because like you said, that is a huge step towards achieving that autonomy at the highest level and most accurate level. Especially when it's like super narrow budgets.
Yeah.
Interesting. So like that makes sense. Like you have to like pretty much pick one thing to just be focused on in a sense. And I'm curious, like from a focus standpoint, what kind of brands are using you guys, and like the size of them, like what kind of products they're selling? Is it just e-commerce brands, or you doing affiliates, like, or is it just like who getting the most benefit from actually using this right now?
So it's what we've seen as our ICP is a hybrid of two different types of customers. Number one is the brand. We've had brands such as Heart and Soil use our stuff, Hard Rock Digital. And then also the other side of the coin is more like the agencies. because we rolled out an agency plan where you could add users and also have multiple ad accounts where you could flip through different projects, have multiple ad accounts synced up, and launch to different assets, right? And those agencies are tremendous. And I mean, some of the people that we're onboarding, I can't share just due to privacy reasons, but they're spending like multiple six figures per day, I'd assume, in that range. So it's crazy to see what everything is sort of coming to at this point, because we have those two pockets of customers. So it's a mix between the brand and the agency just for the different use case. So like if you're a solopreneur or just like small team, then we have people utilizing it. And then also the agencies as well.
And like they're seeing like them using it is better than them not using it. Like they're seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, we have people that even go through our support chat that are giving us testimonials like, hey, this is how your copy performed. Like, I just got my first sales. And then we have people that are also scaling really hard and just trying to launch more iterations.
That's awesome.
Because, rather than just, don't get me wrong, anyone could go ahead and use like any sort of AI tool like GPT, Bard, etc. But none of it has the context, right? So AI is the funny way to sort of compare it is like the movie 50 First Dates, right? So it's like when you go on the date with a girl, it's just a fresh slate every single day. And you could give it the same piece of information and get a different outcome multiple times. And you even see that in the content generation through video, through images. So the same thing happens when you're trying to generate assets for your marketing. If it doesn't consistently have that data and the context as to what's going on, which is what we pull through Facebook, and providing that in our layers of prompting and our systems and machine learning that we're developing with winning frameworks for direct response paid media, then it's not going to be at the highest level, right? So it took multiple iterations over and over again, and a lot of reinforcement learning, which is a big thing on the side of AI, is giving it samples of what is good and what is bad, so it's forever stored in there, is what has allowed it to really actually operate at a high level.
And this has been like 3 years now in the making?
No, less, about 14 months.
14
or 15 months.
Oh, got you. Damn. So you've done a lot. Like, it always blows my mind because like you're not technical at all. Like you don't know how to code or anything. like how big's the dev team that does all this and like that can make all these like big
dev team's still pretty lean. We have 3 devs working on the project, including my co-founder and CTO. Okay. So having a technical co-founder was a huge lift. So it just allows me to focus on the operations and marketing, which is what I do best, and connecting dots and building the team. So I feel like if I had like one superpower in business, it's the problem solving and getting the right people in the room together and putting all of those pieces together so that we could operate at a high level. And then from there on the technical side, he's just an absolute beast, one of the most disciplined and focused guys that I know, which is great to have on the other side of the business so that I could just make sure that everything else is running like a well-oiled machine.
Have you read Traction?
No, I haven't.
So there's like, John, the idea like the visionary, the integrator, it sounds like you're more of the visionary.
That's, I read that in another book as well. Is it Traction or is it High Output Management?
It might be from it's like Gino Wickman, I think, is the...
Yeah, there's like a few books that he's like written.
That are all a part of the same like ecosystem, but like, yeah, it sounds like you kind of have that same hierarchy. And it's funny because like even within my business, I think about integrator, like the integrator who's like, you need a visionary to have the ideas and to be the kind of the glue that holds everything together. And then the integrator that like filters those ideas and then says, this is what we're going to run with. And like, now we'll make sure that, it moves in that direction. Sure. Like within my company, even I'm talking to my co-founder of the agency and I'm like, shit, we're both integrators and we're both visionaries. But I'm sure like, obviously over these 14 months, you've had experience from other companies where you've structured, you've had team infrastructure. I don't really have a question necessarily, but I guess like how has the structure evolved of the people as you've grown, and like at what milestones did you make any like major changes?
That's a good question. I mean, the structure has evolved by way of understanding like who you are investing your time into, and learning how to hire better. I think that's definitely what has evolved over the years of just like being the operator and also like trying to piece people together. Learning when to fire and to fire faster, and then understanding when you have an A player and to invest your time into them. The structure is definitely changed by way of, how the dynamic is between us and the employees, and also making sure that we don't feel like that there's this barrier up between us and the employees. Like it's a we thing. It's we're a team working together and making them feel bought into the project as well. And also, I guess even like legitimate structure, like cap table wise, it would even be just like being more welcoming on that side and understanding you can't be a one-man army. equipping the project with some of the best minds that I know is the reason why we've gotten thus far. Otherwise, we probably would have sunk like 6 to 12 months ago.
What is up, New Money Talks fam? Just want to hop on here, give a quick shout out to our awesome sponsor, Printify. If you're looking for an easy way to start an e-commerce brand, print on demand is the way to go. It's efficient and a super practical way to build a quick, profitable business without having a whole bunch of technical experience and a lot of cost too. With Printify's on-demand services, you can sell just about any type of merchandise with your own custom designs with just a few clicks of a button. It's perfect for artists, influencers, small business owners, and honestly, anybody who just wants to start a business today, they can with Printify. Check out printify.com today and start building your dream business risk-free. Now back to the podcast.
And by that, I mean, of course, like having technical co-founders, huge. We took a small amount of money pre-revenue as investment, and then also our advisors. So 2 advisors that we have on board that are on the cap table, and they have been like the saving grace and what keep me in my lane to make sure I'm not veering too far off, getting too excited about, chasing the woman in the red dress or the next shiny object kind of thing in business, right? So that's been a huge leg up and huge help, which I'm eternally grateful for. So I guess to summarize what has changed the dynamic is welcoming more of the high value people and great minds in to also contribute alongside of you, not being afraid of that, and hiring the right people.
I know you wanted to ask about like the raising money stuff too.
Yeah.
I think it's a good segue into that too, because it's something interesting that people don't talk about. And like, it sounds like you didn't raise a lot of money, which like it didn't seem like you needed that much money.
No.
But I'm curious, like, if you don't want to say the exact number, but like ballpark number of how much you did raise and like why'd you raise it, where'd you raise it from, what that process looked like, and stuff like that. I'm curious of that too.
For sure. It was just right around 6 figures on safe notes.
Okay.
So simple agreement for future equity,
Yep.
keeping the legal cost as minimal as possible, just getting people that, believed in the team and the vision. And the reason why we did that is just to have more runway. I've had the experience of building SaaS before. When I was 19, I had my first one at the email automation platform. I believe you tried it out because we were like just becoming friends then. That was like 7-8 years ago. It's crazy.
What software was that?
Mail funnels. So it was a email automation platform for Shopify merchants.
Really? So it was like just like a Klaviyo type of thing?
So I actually launched before they were like big and actually like in the space. But the thing is, I'm a 19-year-old bootstrapped kid with no money, no resources, and also like a complete novice in business as a whole, right?
It's funny. We had Jimmy on here. I don't know if you know Jimmy from Sunlane. Yeah. Like I think he launched like 10 years ago or something like that.
Jimmy's brilliant.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
He was actually very, very helpful when I was building that, and like one of the first early people.
Oh, this all makes sense. I know how this all makes sense now. Yeah.
So Jimmy was helpful because I met him through Dan, and Jimmy was super impactful by way of like just getting my bearings and understanding how to get your grip on product itself, right? And how to look at problems. Because at the end of the day, like when you're running, especially a SaaS, everything is just a series of problems. And making it as simple for you to allow people to utilize your software and your tool to solve their problems in the best manner possible. And he was super helpful with that. But yeah, long story short, I had that early on in my career. And it did okay. Eventually sunset it. Didn't really lose money. Like it was making money, it was making revenue. But I knew the product wasn't good enough, and it was going to take a serious amount of capital and resources to build it. But Klaviyo not only started later, but also had a ton of VC backing and money. So I was like, well, if we could have additional cash in the bank, it's never going to hurt, right?
Yeah.
And also people that are investors are also assets because they're invested into the success of the company as well. We didn't give up a lot of equity, and we did it pre-revenue at a nice valuation. So I've no worries about that. And then beyond that, if there's anything that arises or if we need to inject more capital into the company, we're able to float that ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. That's funny. So you used his thing 9 years ago?
Yeah. Maybe I'm not 9, but definitely like probably
7.
like 6, 7. Yeah.
Wow. And how'd you come across it?
Just getting connected with him.
You met
mutual
him,
friends,
yeah.
No, I didn't just like find it and then like hit him up and be like, yo,
Gotcha.
cool software.
That's crazy. So literally like before Klaviyo, whatever came out.
before they were popular.
They were
yeah.
massive. Yeah.
How'd you get your CTO to be like invested in the business without any type of like payment or guarantee of upside, out of curiosity?
Equity. A lot of it.
Well, right, but even with it, but it's like, 50% of nothing is still nothing. So how do you get him motivated into like the vision,
Motivated, I mean, I guess it's an impressive leap of faith on his side in like me as a entrepreneur, and then the vision that we have, right? I was lucky enough to be really good friends with him prior to that, and I've known him for years. So I guess really just sharing what we were looking to achieve. He felt that he had a high level of conviction behind it. Luckily,
And you had a track record too. So.
yeah. And luckily, he was at the point in his career where, he's not really chasing money. He's chasing something that's a little bit bigger, more profound impact, and something that he could have ownership in and build and take part in, right? So I think it's really, really tough to find that kind of fit. So very lucky to have that. And you need to have a lot of things aligned to make something like that work.
Yeah. I know that in the past, I know you've had some businesses that were more like degenerate. And then once you get into this world, I remember there was, I don't know if it was an Instagram story or we just like talked about it over the phone or something, but it's more of like the corporate structure where you're making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, like 9 to 5, etc. Has that like changed since maybe the year ago that I'm thinking about that you expressing that transition of like, oh, I used to work super late and now I'm on like more normal hours. Has that changed at all?
Definitely changed. I mean, I used to work a lot of later nights just because that's when I would sort of hit my groove, and it's nice to have that peace and quiet. But communicating with the team is a big part. Like if we're trying to ship a certain feature or solve a certain bug, and nobody else, like the developers aren't nuanced in how Facebook works, right? So luckily I can come in and lay it out in layman's terms or translate how that could carry over. So I want to be on when they're on, ideally. I don't like many meetings. I think doing too many meetings is useless. We have like 2 per week max, which is just to kick off the week, and then 1 in like the middle or later half of the week to check in and make sure we finish the week strong. But besides that, allowing people to be autonomous and I myself being autonomous hasn't really changed too much, just a little bit more consistent by way of like the hours. And I feel like having a more consistent routine has allowed me to sort of hit that stride of like deep work a little bit easier.
Yeah, you still have the flexibility to like travel though and like have fun and live life like you were before.
Yeah.
Is there like how do you find that? Not like how do you find that balance, but how is there like, oh, I want to travel this quarter and then next quarter I'm just going to be like head in the books? Like how do you do that?
I've tried doing the traveling and working, and I did it last summer when I went to Bali, and then I was in Japan in totality for like, it was almost like 2 months. I could sit here and lie to myself and say like, oh yeah, I worked hard. Like, yeah, I worked, but I don't think it was to the same degree of work I could have gotten done if I had my head down at my desk with my ideal setup, and unbothered, right? When you're traveling, obviously you want to see things, you want to do other things. It's going to peel you away. You're really not going to have like that 6, 8, 10, or even sometimes 12-hour work days that you might have to push out when you're traveling, unless you have just like insane discipline, or you're in a place where you've sort of done the things already and you don't need to do anything else, right? So it's tough. I prefer staying at home for longer periods of time now and then traveling for longer periods of time, where it's like sort of flip-flop in the seasons. Like the past 6 months, I just had my head down and I got some of the best work done that I've ever done. Not only just like to my business, but personally and physically, like consistently in the gym, feeling healthier than ever. Yeah. And I think that reflects over to business just as much as anything else, right? So I sort of lean more towards the longer periods of staying consistent.
I'm curious for you too, like as you kind of get to like, I guess month 14, 15 in the business, are you thinking more of like business development, like scaling the business and acquiring more customers? Or you just caring more about product to make sure the product's good? I'm curious like where your brain's at, and like say it is the business dev piece, like how are you planning on growing this thing in a sense?
It's tough, like when you're in that position, like you're trying to balance so many different plates, right? It's a mix of both. Like I obviously want to see growth, but at the same time, we can't go all out when I know like certain things need to be shipped first.
So then actually as the partner then who doesn't build stuff, what do you do all day if like you can't sell it?
It's tough. There are certain times where like I'd feel stuck, but I would have to like stay as proactive as possible in either developing better systems, wondering different ways that we could monetize. So a couple things that we did in that period where the product just simply wasn't ready was I rolled out the agency side of the business. So then we took on clients, helped them run their ads. And then if people wanted to have the self-service side of the business, they could do that as well.
Oh, so right now it's the software and an agency.
Yeah, we have an agency side of the business as well, which has been growing really well. Like we just closed another 2 clients in the past couple of weeks. So continuing to grow that. And it just helps keep the company afloat, mitigate burn, and add to profit, right? It's already in our wheelhouse. And in a sense, what we ideally want to do is have agency clients become a part of the self-fulfilling prophecy where AI becomes the autonomous manager of those clients. And at the end of the day, it's a win-win because we're just getting more data to feed into our systems when we're spending, 10, 20, 30,000 a month on each of these accounts. Or I mean, some of the ones that we're scaling now, we're managing anywhere from like 30 to 50,000 per day on Meta, just on an average, across, just a series of accounts. And then on the bigger days, we're pushing like 100, but it's been great. And that just gives us more context and more data to learn from. So in that time, what I thought of was, different ways that we could make money and planning for when the wave breaks for all of those features to be done and the product to be ready at a higher level, that we could actually attack it full force. And now that's really where we're getting to right now.
And then like right now with the agency, who runs all these ads? Is it like autonomous at some pieces of it, or is it still like a media buyer buying these ads? And
we have buyers,
Okay.
and then we have them also use our tool to create copy, launch tests quicker, and then also we just help in strategy across the board. So like I'm dipping into accounts.
So pretty
every now
much
and
you
then.
could manage all your ads within your platform right now.
Not all of them,
Not
not
all,
yet.
okay.
But with the features that we're rolling out over like the next quarter, it's going to be a lot closer to that. Right now,
Gotcha.
the main thing is website conversions and also split testing, like A/B split testing, essentially. So uploading your creatives and rapidly creating multiple iterations for
So
them.
in like a perfect world, you won't even have to log into like an ads manager. You log into ad copy.
No, you would still log into Ads Manager. I mean,
Okay.
perhaps maybe way down the line, we may bring it in-house, but I feel like it's just too cumbersome of a thing for us to do where we could share like analytics and what's going on. But as of now, still Ads Manager. But what you're putting up in Ads Manager is going out way better, way faster, and more autonomously.
Gotcha.
And there's an extension that integrates with the Ads Manager right now, right?
There was an extension and we still have it. Right now, that's still just a place to create copy. We honestly haven't really been developing that side of it too much as of late, as we've just been so focused on the web app and that platform. But ideally, we'd like to bring that back at some point and see if we could deliver value where it's helpful inside of Ads Manager, which I do see that coming like Q3, Q4 in our roadmap.
Yeah. I think like as a media buyer, the biggest nuance is launching new creatives. Like if there's 10 creatives and you want to split test 3 different ad copy and 2 different landers, that's like 60 different individual ads that you would generally have to create. So there are things like dynamic creative, but even that like is not perfect. Like Facebook will still allocate budget in places that don't really work that well. So a lot of what we do at the agency is a junior media buyer will strictly set up the new creative test, and we try to like productize it so it's the same thing, but sometimes it's different depending on the account, what performs well. But that's the thing that I think is very valuable for people, is just like, what, even if I get the same results, what's going to get me back time or save me money on a junior or even a senior media buyer.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're trying to shoot for. And then you have the higher level person that could then go from managing 3 accounts to managing 10.
Yeah.
Because all of the legwork is already done for you.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious, so you run the agency on the side, you're spending a lot of money. I've asked this question to a lot of guys on the podcast that like spend a lot of media budgets. Like what works, what doesn't work, kind of like if you want to go into some tactical stuff that you do see is like of value. I think that's always like people are always curious to that. And like I'm curious myself too of like what actually works right now. And if you just tell me, oh, test more creatives, I'm gonna punch you in the face. So like tell me something not that.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll give you a few pieces of actionable advice. Of course, this varies from offer to offer. So one of the things, and of course, like people say, oh, like what are you for targeting? And they like, don't overcomplicate it. Like have a really good offer and have something that is seamless and easy to access, easy to use, easy to buy, right? Now this varies, like I said, offer to offer, like vertical to vertical. When we're doing our lead gen, like we're spending, and today we'll probably spend upwards of around 20K on one account.
When you say lead gen, what are you doing? What do you mean by
We're doing inbound leads, so inbound calls
for like B2B companies type of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So inbound calls for them, we'll probably generate around 1,500 to 2,000 calls today. And from that, cost per call fluctuates from $8 to $12, and we're getting people in.
What's going on, New Money Talks fam? Just want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors over at MediaGlobe.io. MediaGlobe is an agency account provider for Facebook and TikTok agency accounts. They even provide Google agency accounts. So if you are a Facebook, TikTok, or Google marketer, you have probably experienced one of many issues like profile bans, ad account bans, ad rejections, ID verification disapprovals, spend limits, and the list goes on and on. And if you want the solution to all of those problems in one place, you have to check out Media Globe. With their agency accounts, you get unlimited spend access. You not only get access to unlimited spend accounts, you get exclusive support from the major advertising channels. You can receive whitelisted assets, meaning that they are almost bulletproof from getting disapproved, banned, rejected, or any of that fun stuff. And you get one-on-one support with their team of multi 8 and 9-figure advertisers. So again, whatever problem that you're facing with your paid media, whether it's for your e-commerce business, your lead generation business, your service-based business, if you're advertising on social media, you need to check these guys out today at MediaGlobe.io or visit the link in the description of this video and check them out there. Now let's get back into the podcast.
Someone asked you what kind of company that is.
I'm gonna have you run ads for my companies.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing for that, and for it's like the most simple targeting and setup. We're doing high spend lifetime budgets, no targeting except for the geo and demographics that we're going for. So that's something that works for us. Like, it's very simple, just, high budgets, lifetime.
Like, from an ad creative perspective, what does it look like? Video, image, like
it's all video on that, primarily, some images from time to time, but overall, like, just having more iterations of your creative. So people are like, oh, like, launch more creatives. You have to understand like what is actually grabbing them, and the number one thing is a hook. Yeah. Right. So if your first 3 seconds of the video don't hit, the rest of the video is meaningless. You could have the best video ad ever. If that doesn't capture their attention, you're cooked. It doesn't matter. That, and then also attention grabbing headlines and primary text, of course, is really going to drive home whatever you have. And is that going to do the heavy lifting if you're just, launching an image ad that needs some explaining? If you have a video ad, you probably need like maybe a line of copy at most, right? A line or two, and a good headline to capture attention. So I guess one thing would be there in high spend lifetime budgets, with some of the most basic targeting, if any at all. And then one thing that we're seeing a lot of success with is guided shopping experiences. So
what's that mean?
Like quiz funnels.
Oh,
so rather than sending someone to a product page where, they could pick, 3 different sizes or servings of a certain supplement, right? Nobody's going to veer towards the $90 option when they see that there's a $30 option. So like for one example, it's based on weight, the supplement, right? If you see, other people are paying like $30 for this product, why am I going to voluntarily pay 2 or 3 times more? You're going to feel slighted about it. Try to comparison shop, especially with the state of the economy, how high consumer debt is. People are always going to be comparison shopping if you're giving them reasons to, right? But if you take them through a quiz funnel, for example, where there's no other distractions, no other navigation, you're gathering their info, they're getting more bought into it step over step, then they get their suggested thing that they should purchase that's tailored for them. It's a lot easier to make that purchasing decision than if you have like 3 or 4 different variants that you could pick from. So that sort of guided shopping experience and giving the answer to the consumer is very important, and one thing that I think is going to do really well. And a lot of people are loving, and what we've also seen sometimes is even like the podcast style ads. Yeah. Like, even if there was no podcast, you shoot an ad like a podcast style, and it's just like people having a conversation about a product has done really well as well.
Interesting. Damn.
What's with the lifetime budgets?
It seems to handle consistent high spend a lot better.
When you say lifetime budget, what does that mean too?
You're running it for, you're telling Facebook, I'm going to run it from this period of time, and we're going to spend this much.
Oh, that, and then it turns off.
So like, let's say you have it's like 7 days and you have a $700 lifetime budget. It might not spend $100 a day. It might spend like $150 this day that's performing well, $50 this day. That's actually like, in theory, that makes a lot of sense, because like when Facebook has these really shit days and people bitch about it, it's like, well, if you have a daily budget, you're forcing that spend every day, even when the day isn't that like good, or you're not going to get a good response. So that actually makes like a lot of sense. And honestly, we don't do a lot of lifetime budget experimentation, but we have had clients that like we've audited their accounts, and some campaigns have done really well in their lifetime budgets. And we're like, what are they doing? Like, there's a lifetime budget, really big, did really well, but now it's off. And so I guess my follow-up question that would be, what do you do once you get to the end of that lifetime budget? Are you just like duplicating it and relaunching it? Yep. Exact same?
Yep. And then when we're hitting really high spend, especially because this is like a fast sort of style, I like tightening the attribution window. It's one thing I like. And I mean, this stuff is not one of the things that I share with a lot of people. I don't know if people get value out of this or not. Look, spend what I like to think as a very fair amount on Meta. Different things work for different people. I'm not the best at it. I like to think I'm very good. I'm sure there's someone out there that's better, but yeah, that's one thing that's worked really well for me, especially as we're
tight
scaling.
attribution? What the hell is that?
Rather than like a 7-day,
I know.
yeah, 7 or 1 day window of them like viewing or clicking the ad, you're just sort of inflating your numbers. So you're sort of being a little bit more stern with Facebook, saying like, all right, I'm not even counting that as a conversion, even though you want to throw it in there.
I see.
Of course, because Facebook wants your numbers to look good.
Yeah.
Facebook is a for-profit company. They just had their best quarter ever. They're happily like raking in money from the advertisers. First time.
So I mean, like if they got a sale like not perfectly on that second that ad like did its whole thing, like 2 days later they're adding it into like Facebook. But if you tighten this thing, you're like saying no, screw you. I'm not even counting that. Like I need to see what's actually like a 1 day window
like today. Yeah.
So I mean, the standard is a 7-day.
Yeah,
click.
7 day. Yeah.
So if they buy 3 days later,
so we'll add that in.
Or like even if it's just a like improper attribution and they just pick it up and they think it's the same cookie or click ID, they'll throw it in there and make your numbers look better. You're going to want to spend more, right? If you're doing 1 day click or 1 day view, it's just, you're being a little bit more strict as to what you will consider.
Why doesn't everyone just use 1 day view then?
Everyone has different schools of thought. They're like, they want to give Facebook as much freedom as possible to continue learning and everything.
View also like doesn't mean shit. Like someone can see your ad from Facebook and then go to Google, purchase through Google, and then Facebook will attribute that as a purchase
100%.
because they viewed the ad. That's all like a view through purchases. Like all the attribution stuff, like those models, it gets super complicated when you actually like look deep into it. Like it's complex.
Yeah, I've just been like experimenting with that recently.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've seen is like our cost per lead would be a lot higher in the beginning of the day, at least on Facebook side. And then it'll like snap down, still be higher than if we had a 7-day view or click window, but we're seeing better numbers internally when we're utilizing our tracking.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So this whole talk of TikTok, it doesn't bother you at all because you're all in on Meta, right? Like TikTok getting banned, all that shit.
It's not gonna get banned. I think they just passed some good stuff.
They're saying that in 9 months that a US company has to buy it for it not to get banned in the United States.
I don't know.
Yeah. For me, that's white noise. It's just not my platform. I think it's great and it's a great traffic source. Some people are seeing way better results there than on Meta. I just don't see Meta going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm happily investing my time and effort into figuring out ways to solve that, because there's so many brands that have seen like the worst tailspin the first quarter of the year and sort of giving up, saying Meta sucks. And I agree. And some days it does. It's really frustrating. But at the end of the day, like that is where there's a unsurmountable amount of traffic. Like you have to be able to,
most reliable place to advertise. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be able to make it work.
Yep.
And I can't sit there and say, oh, Meta sucks and throw my hands up in the air. Like not just because of my position and creating software around it, but it's just more nuanced. And we're still seeing great results on certain verticals.
Yeah.
A lot of them have gotten a lot tougher though. E-commerce has taken a beating. And even on the agency side, it's much more difficult for agencies to operate. That's getting so watered down. Everyone wants to be an agency owner. Everyone wants to, work from anywhere, make $5,000, $10,000 a month running ads for people. And number one, like going after e-commerce clients, you're probably not going to make anything because the margins are already getting tighter. Those like brand owners are going to be not only the worst clients, and there's nowhere to make money. Yeah. The margins are already so tight as it is. And then what? You're going to charge someone a 4 or 5K retainer or percentage of spend. If you're still operating an agency and working off of that alone, I think you're making a huge mistake and honestly wasting your time. I believe that there's a lot more room for growth and getting paid for what you generate for a business so that you can grow with them. I know like the partner or growth partner model has become like the buzzword of like a lot of people's paid traffic funnels for educating people how to utilize agencies. But I think that there's a much more special way to go about it, which is, meeting and understanding what people will be in business for a while, have the bankroll to do it, and understanding where to connect with those people. If you're not great at running Meta ads or any sort of ads, then learn how to do it. If you are already great at it, then provide those services based off of the growth or what you drive to the business, right? Think about things that aren't going anywhere, like government programs. So many people made a ton of money off of what were the loans for the
not EIDL, not SBA, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Oh, they made so much
like
money.
there's something relief.
Disaster relief loans.
No, the ones that paid per
It
employee
was
that
per
you had.
employee. it was the employee
employee
stuff.
retention credit, ERC.
ERC credits.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
yeah. Guys made bank off of
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
Bank. Yeah,
They made
yeah.
a ton of money. Now think about if you were driving the business for that, right? If you're doing stuff for government programs, stuff that isn't going anywhere, things such as there's a huge affiliate network for survival right now, right?
Survival of what?
Like tons of like survival kits, like stuff that you could order,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
So you could play into, for example, how billionaires are building shelters,
Bunkers,
right? And bunkers,
yeah.
like this is what people are afraid of. Think of where the economy is, think of where the government is and where the money is going, right? Things that are never going to stop getting funded are government programs and stuff that you could piggyback off of that. Insurance, ACA, Medicare, all of those avenues are great ways to make money. And also the earning potential is tremendously higher based off of what you could actually send to a business or someone that's operating it. Perhaps they have the connections with the people that are buying the calls, or they have the bankroll that could get it going. If you could deliver the traffic, I think that's a way smarter way to run an agency where you could actually participate in growth rather than trying to fight to the bottom off of like, all right, who's going to take the $1,000 or $2,000 retainer or 10% of spend? Because even the ecom brands, they hate dishing that out at the end of the month because they don't even feel good about it because their margins are tight. Cost of goods is up, cost of ads is up, and it's not converting the same. So I believe that there's a lot of different ways that even agency owners could do better.
Yeah, I had a student who had an agency that was like doing relatively well, making like 15 grand a month in profit, but he was managing like 8 to 10 different clients. And he just ended up saying like to his best brand that he worked with that he was making 80% of his revenue. He was like, I will drop all these other clients if you just pay me like 20, 30% more. And so now he's just exclusively working with this one brand, maybe works 2 hours a day, makes like 20 grand a month off that one brand. And so I think a lot of like agency owners, like in reality would make more money as like in-house media buyers for companies, even if they have to drop the title of like entrepreneur or like, or et cetera. Like they could just be like, you're kind of still self-employed, you're still but if you just drop the titles and the ego and just work for a really big company like that, you find one, you're probably better off than a lot of agency owners.
And it's the same exact dynamic.
Yeah.
It's just ego that's holding you back to say, oh, I run my own business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, running your own business sucks anyway.
It sucks.
I don't even know why you want to do it. Yeah.
Highly don't recommend. No, but like, yeah, it has its ups and downs for sure.
It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
a lot of stress.
That's a whole conversation in itself.
Yeah.
Especially when you got like fucking lawsuits and shit. People throw the word like, lawyer, my attorneys, you'll be hearing from my attorneys, all that shit. It's like, as an employee, you don't have to worry about any of that shit. You take no risk. You just get a payment every month. You get to pay your mortgage with that.
Like there's a whole like thing about that where like the easiest way to become like a millionaire isn't by starting your own company. It's by being like an early employee on like a series like A, B company type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You literally just like you're gonna get
stock options. Or
you're gonna get like a solid pay, whatever. Like obviously type of 6 figures at like when these tech companies will get your stock options. Like they'll go to a Series C, D, E IPO and like you'll make $1 million. Like it's kind of crazy. There's like a study that like that's I think the fastest way to become a millionaire right now is like doing it like that.
And it's probably over like 10 years or something.
I don't even think like
5,
4
10
or
years.
5 years type of thing. Like especially if you catch this company at the right like spot, like if you catch like a Series C company,
Yeah.
B into C, if you get your shares right, like you could do really, really well. Like I was talking to this one guy, he was like a head of sales at like a Series A. They just raised a Series B company, and like he left whatever, but he was like, I'm so happy for them because like I have like a 0.5% of the company. And like they're worth 200 million right now, and like hopefully they sell for like 800 million, and like my 0.5% is worth whatever the hell it's worth. Like I'm a millionaire,
Yeah.
and like it only took me a few years to kind of get there with like little to no risk. You know what I mean?
Exactly. He got in and he made an impact on the business.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like
Yeah.
he got in, like he worked somewhere prior. He's like in his 40s, worked somewhere prior, jumped in here, gave a bunch of experience, like helped hire a whole bunch of people into the company. Wasn't a good fit. He left, but like he got his equity still, and like at the end of the day, he added a whole bunch of value. The company like gained a whole bunch from it. He's gonna gain a whole bunch from it later on too when they exit. Like that's like such a different path that no one talks about. Because I had a conversation with somebody today too, where like he was young. He was like 22 years old. The kid's like ripping like $1 million a month like an e-commerce brand, and he was like so worried about like moving to Puerto Rico, like taxes, all this type of stuff. And I was like, dude, like honestly, you don't realize like once you hit a certain amount of money, like more actually doesn't make a difference in your life. So like you go to Puerto Rico to save whatever you pay in taxes type of thing. doesn't really make a big difference. Like I was like, buddy, the two things that I care about most, and he was like, me too. And I was like, literally being able to pay for any food that I want, like go to a restaurant, never look at a price. If I run up a $500 bill, $1,000 bill, it is what it sucks, but it is what it is. That's one thing. And the second thing is just to be able to travel wherever the hell I want, whenever I want, period. Past that, like I brought up someone who's like, we know, two guys who we know that have like fancy cars and did the whole car thing and all this type of stuff. And I was like, dude, I've been in like a nice car before. Like I've been in like the Lamborghinis, blah, blah, blah. And it's cool for like the first 5 minutes. But then once you're going 150 miles an hour, you think you're going to die on a highway. Like it's.
What's up, New Money Talks fam? If you run ads for your e-commerce business and you haven't heard of adcopy.ai, you are absolutely missing out. Adcopy.ai focuses on generating new variations of ad copy for your business based on the best performing copy in your ad account, based on millions of data points in order to improve the quality of your ads, make more money, and reduce the cost that it takes to launch new ads. Now, outside of the ad copy, it also helps you streamline the launching and publishing of new ad creatives to new campaigns or to existing campaigns with just a few clicks of a button. So whether you want to launch completely new ads with new copy or you want to use existing copy to spin off new variations that you can go ahead and split test in your account, you definitely want to check out AdCopy AI. Now, on top of all of that, they're coming out with some incredible features that are going to help you be able to passively automate the optimization decisions that take place within your ad account to improve your advertising tracking, to give you the opportunity to fire your media buyers and cut costs that you would naturally have when it comes to paying a team member to manage your ads, because they're helping streamline the entire media buying process on Facebook for your direct consumer e-commerce brand or any other business for that matter that you run Facebook ads for. So again, I can't stress it enough. If you're running ads and you're not using adcopy.ai, you are going to get left in the dust. So if you want to go ahead and check them out, you can use the link in the description of this video. And other than that, let's get back into the podcast.
You get this shit, like you hit a number, you're like, all right, cool. Like I can stop working tomorrow. Like it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like a lot of people who want like the entrepreneur person, like wants to have a bunch of money to kind of flex all the crap. But at the end of the day, it's like once you hit like that 800K, million, 1.2, you're like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah.
like
I mean, everyone has a different why.
Everyone has a different why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're chilling. You know what I mean?
And I mean, even the example that you gave where, let's say you work inside of a company, you have some room for growth or equity, you earn consistent salary plus the potential exit, that puts you like in a liquidity standpoint, experience, like you can then go find, like be the founder of your own company after that. Yeah. And you have the perfect track record to be funded or have someone invest in you, right? I think too many people are so caught up in trying to prove to everyone else that they did it or they have these certain accolades or they started their own business. Like everyone's path is different. You don't need to do that by the time you're 23, 24.
For sure.
You can do that in your early 30s or mid 30s and you're still like absolutely killing
and like
it.
big secret, like the one thing that VCs love is when they back companies that actually don't need the money. It's like when the founder's someone that like doesn't actually need the money to like live, and like the worst thing when you're like to the VC, hey, we're gonna do with the money. Like, oh, we're gonna use it to pay ourselves. Like
it's two like 19-year-old kids.
Yeah, like the VC's like, what are you talking about? Like that. If you're 30 years old and like you're financially free and set, and then you go raise money, like anyone wants to give you money because it's like, well, this guy's not going to use my money for something stupid. Like he's really trying to build, like kind of like you, like you're trying to build value with the company you're building. You know, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, in our case, we still to this day haven't taken any distributions.
You don't need to.
Everything goes back into the business, and it's been that way for almost a year and a half.
Yeah, for sure. I know I'm on a tangent, but I literally was on a call with a 22-year-old kid today, and I was like, dude, like when I was 22, I thought the same thing. Now I'm 20, like 26, and like that shit's not important. Like trust, you know? Yeah.
What? How old are you turning next month?
I turned 28.
No, not next month. In
July.
What, 2 months?
Yeah, I turned 28.
28.
Washed up.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self if you can go back in time? Just in terms of like, not like, oh, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, that would be great. But just guide him in the right direction.
Stick to the email marketing software. If you suck at that.
Yeah. Oh man, this is actually really funny that you asked me this because I like to go for walks frequently, like probably like a few times a week, and I'll do like a couple miles, just dedicated time to think. And I actually thought about this yesterday, and it was like a multitude of things, but more than anything is like big picture. Most of it really doesn't matter. Getting like so emotionally like bought in or caught up in things and worried more than anything else. Like as long as you're like chipping away, it's really not gonna mean anything in the grand scheme of things. It's just focusing on getting better at your craft, right? And like honestly, I'll probably watch this exact episode in like 2 or 3 years and think, you didn't know shit.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And at every point, like leading up to this point, like I would even like discount like from 21 to 23, I'm like figuring out life, like really just all over the place. 23 to 27 was really when I started to hit my stride as an entrepreneur, make like better money and have more responsibilities in life. But at this point and at all those stages, I thought I knew a lot, and over and over and over again, continuously like proven wrong. Like, wow, like I thought I knew a lot at that point. You really are going to be excited to see like when you get blindsided by X, Y, and Z, right? So for me, it would definitely just be, you know, slow is fast, continue getting really good at certain things and enjoy the process rather than be stressed about it. Because there were like, I've had really, really rough patches of when I was working where it was just terrible anxiety, like, you know, wouldn't want to eat, like my hair was falling out, like extremely, like every sign of chronic stress to like the most extreme levels. And I just had the realization at one point where I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna make it back. It's gonna figure itself out, whether it's like, you know, a bad business like choice that I've made or like a poor investment that doesn't turn out well, you know, relationships. In the grand scheme of things, like today, for example, I lost my luggage. like, and by the way, if I see someone wearing my one-on-one samples of my clothes that I developed, it's on site. You're gonna get the hands. That duffel will hopefully come back to me, but I digress. I was stressed out about it for like 5-10 minutes, but in the grand scheme of things, like it really doesn't matter, right? What am I gonna do? Sit there with my hands on my head and just fucking cry in the airport over a material thing? Especially the material things is like, none of it really matters. It's the stuff that you can't replace, right? The time with family, the memories, and enjoying the process, right? Like, and I started to have to reiterate that to myself as I'm building the startup with ad copy. Again, 14 months, no distributions. It sucks. That's not fun. Like you need to be creative. You need to, you know, be more restrictive in those earlier times where you're investing capital straight into the business or, you know, all of your time, because it's hard to, you're going to try and like work 70, 80 hours a week. If you want to try and do like maybe a side hustle or other things, like granted, I have investments and things that are still taking care of me by way of like relationships and working relationships that I have that I'm blessed to have through the years of working hard. But all of that compounds, right? Even with like the skincare brand that we talked about that I had, I still have that in my portfolio. That's still a piece of something that I own. And if I want to, I could just liquidate that if I need capital, right? But the only reason that happened was because I was perpetually working at my craft and getting better, and I didn't quit. So I think what I would tell myself is just fast to slow, enjoy the ride, and in the grand scheme of things, most things don't matter as long as you're going in the right direction.
I love it. How long have we been going with this one? Do we know?
What
the episode?
Yeah, no, this has been great. I hate when people ask me in the beginning, what are we going to talk about? Because I never know what we're going to talk about, but this one has been fucking fantastic. Yeah. The one thing I think I told you last time we did this, like you're very well spoken. Like
last time?
I think I might have told you this last time. Remember I told Kevin this, like after our podcast, I was like, Tony's like very, very well spoken. And like, I can like tell you think before you speak and like you think about your word choice and all that stuff. And, like other people don't. Like I'm very bad at that. Like I never think before I speak. Like I do think before I speak, but I also don't care what comes out of my mouth sometimes, for good and for bad. But like that's like a huge quality that you do have, that like executives, CEOs, like that's like a big freaking thing. Like obviously think before you speak, and like kudos to you because you definitely have that thing to the T.
Yeah. You're saying from like the last podcast that we did?
No. Like even on the last podcast, I was saying that about you.
Well articulated,
dude. I was
you're super articulate.
Terribly hungover.
Well, yeah, I remember that. No, I remember that.
Yeah.
No, you were terrible. 100%.
I was gonna say you look a hell of a lot better right now.
Thank
you.
But I'm saying even hungover, not hungover, like dude, like you just like you got the words, like you're the wordsmith, which is amazing. I love that shit.
Are you still partying like that now? Or I know you said you've had some health evolution.
No, I mean I've dialed it back a ton. Just focusing on being way more selective with things like that. Like don't get me wrong, still love to enjoy a good time, have a drink every now and then, but I've become a lot more selective on like those occasions just because of the net negative that it's just dealt by way of like my lack of clarity, lack of motivation. You're obviously spending a lot of extra money, like going out and drinking and making bad decisions, right? So I really dialed that back a lot. Like I had plenty of fun in my early 20s, but at this point, I'm trying to build something greater than myself. And I think two things that I've done to make sure that my priorities are straight and I want to party less. Number one is, and it's not for everyone, I pay a premium for my gym. Like my gym membership is far more expensive than what most people will pay. And I think because then you're financially invested and you're motivated to go, like you have to show up. If I don't show up, I feel like a deadbeat, right? Nonetheless, I love the gym. It changed like my health and perspective on health tremendously, right? And then number two is when you're building a real company and you're trying to build something that is going to make a real impact and you have multiple people involved, and at the end of the day, there are multiple people involved in it. Like you have other people relying on you, right? You have people on your payroll. I have multiple developers that are relying on that paycheck every Friday, right? I have my co-founder that's invested just as much time as I have into the project, where he could have taken that and the opportunity cost could have been tremendous, right? He could have went and done something else. He's super talented, right? Advisors that have spent their hard-earned time and experience and relaying their mistakes towards like what we're doing, understanding the cost of me not showing up and being 100% makes me not want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So just more responsibility on my plate. I want to take care of my family more and focus on the stuff that matters. So I think that is, in all reality, the bigger flex, or like the more gratifying thing to do than spend a few $1,000s out at a club or like go get drunk. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still great to have a good time, and I love to do that much more selectively.
Yeah.
But there's way too much on the line for me to not show up.
Yeah.
Because if I don't show up, then everyone else is like, what the fuck, man? You got to do better.
It's interesting you said that about the gym membership, because I kind of did the same thing. Like I had a super cheap gym membership. Like I would go, I'd get my workout in, but you know, some equipment wouldn't be available. It'd be busy, wouldn't be the right type of crowd. And then I paid like 5 times more for the one I go to now. And I do go more. And then when I go, there's like serious people around. If I need a spotter, I'm not worried about it being like, you know, a little old lady and trying to ask
John
her.
spotting
Like,
Kyle, you know?
like it's, you know, and dude, even like the sauna conversations are different.
Yeah.
These guys are like, oh, I just closed on 3 new rental properties last week. Like in the other one, the sauna is like, dude, you want to go to Domino's later? Like,
Dude,
not that there's anything wrong with Domino's, but like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, different conversations. It's different barrier to entry. I mean, my gym membership is like $450 a month.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Damn.
that's expensive. I never thought I'd spend that on a gym.
Yeah.
But then I started going, thanks to like some of the coaches that I know that have founded it, and like they're phenomenal at what they do. I feel like I'm in peak mental and physical shape, and it's like my therapy session to go there, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it almost like a requirement every day.
Yeah. I mean, you pay $450 for a gym membership or $450 for a therapist, you know?
Exactly. Dude, I had that same analogy in my head yesterday, and I was like, that is my therapy. Like I'd much rather like spend it on that and then have some person here that I'm going to vent to and just like shake their head and be like, oh, it's okay. You're going to be okay. Because no, like you can't listen to a yes man. I was going to tell you it's okay, or like reflect on your feelings more. Just do better.
Yeah.
I
know people that pay like $2,000 just a month for like life coaching. And I'm just like, just go to the gym, eat clean. Like don't spend money carelessly.
I did just hire a coach though. I hired an executive coach. I didn't tell you
That's
that.
different.
That's not life coaching.
No, it's like,
I'm talking to someone who's like
business coaching.
talking to you about like career.
I actually never hired a coach before. I never thought I would hire a coach before.
Yeah.
I just hired someone for $2,500 a month. Starting like next 2 weeks.
So are you looking to get like more information on how to better run a business?
So like he scaled the business from like 3 million to like 100 million over like 5 years. Like it's like a B2B tech company. And like I was trying to get in touch with this guy for like 3 years, like on Twitter, like Instagram, and like email, all this type of stuff. And like out of the blue, he just like actually hit me back once. We hopped on a call. He was like, tell me about the business. I told him about all the business. He was like, yeah, like we could play the same playbook that I did with the other company that I worked at. And then I thought he was going to tell me like 25K or some shit like that. And I was going to be like, yeah, man, like can't do that. And then like we had a second call and he was like, I just want to run through like what you told me. And I was like, yeah, XYZ, that's all right. And I was like, all right, so like where do we go from here? Like how does it work? And he was like, all right, so just like $2,500 a month, and like we'll do this, and this. And I was like, wait, you said like 2,500, 25,000. He was like 2,500. I was
you're
like,
missing a zero, buddy.
I was like, you sure? He was like, why, is that too high? And I was like, nah, like yeah, let's do it. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, I thought you were gonna say like 25K.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, like, why should it have been higher? And I was like, please no. But like, yeah. And he's like, no, like legit, like I'm just trying to like help people. Like he's like retired. He's like in his 40s. He's like, he's like, I'm retired. And I'm like, say less. So like, it like worked out well. Like he's happy with it. I'm happy with it. And I never thought that I would actually do something like that. Like I've never done like the gurus and the coaches. Like I know so many of them. It's all just like not my thing, whatever. They all do their thing. It's not my thing. But like, I was like, all right, worst case scenario, I lose $2,500 here. And like I'll learn something. Like he taught me shit on like a call for free, so it's like makes sense. And like same thing with you, like with the gym, same with you with like your gym as well too. Like you pay for a little more for like more quality stuff, and like that's something to like when you do have a little more money behind you, like you can afford that type of shit, and like that's why money is money. So like you can actually afford higher quality stuff. So yeah, that was like that's a weird thing that I did in the last week, and I was like, all right,
but you get what you pay for.
Yeah, 100%. Even when it's a little underpriced, which I was like, say less.
Yeah, I mean that's a bargain.
Yeah, bargain. I mean, once I tell you who it is, you'll be like, what the fuck? But anyways, sorry.
Yeah, no, I've invested in a couple different like info product things, and there was one very big one that wasn't very worth it, and then there was a lot of kind of medium sized ones that definitely are worth it because business personally, there's always some deficiency, and it's like you either I think Hermosi says this. He's like, you pay with the thing that you value the least, which is either your time or your money. So if you value your time little, then you're going to put a ton of time towards trying to solve that problem. If you value your money less, which like most people should, then you can pay for it and you can expedite the process of solving that problem.
100%. I love it. Anything else
good.
you got? Anything else you got, Tony? Well, wait, shout out the software too, though.
Yeah.
What's the URL for this?
Adcopy.ai.
We might have a New Money Talks link too, don't we?
/ NMT.
I think we have one.
Should. I got to check.
I think we might from the last one.
Like an NMT 15 code
there
or
was
something.
Like that.
We could work something. I mean, look, if you hit our support chat, say, hey, NMT, like, family.
Say less. Yeah. No, definitely check them out. Like, I know you guys have been building the hell out of it. And even like just the copy tool that you guys built, phenomenal. Like, did a whole video on it. Like, I know you ran an ad on it. Honestly, you probably put the ad on this video too if you really wanted to.
No, 100%.
I don't know if we have a sponsor for this one or not, but like, we'll just throw it up there.
It is so much better than the last time I used it. I can't wait to get it in your hands again. Like, once everything is done with ad launching, I'm going to show you some stuff after. But it's tremendous.
Dude, and also like a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you just use ChatGPT? And like the hardest thing is the prompt engineering. You know, people don't realize that. If it has direct response, like millions of data points of direct response marketing, you're going to get a totally different outcome than just going into ChatGPT and saying, hey, I have a CBD product, write me 3 lines of ad copy for XYZ. Yeah.
What do you feel like are other things that are inside of the agency or e-commerce business that you could expedite, or would it be a huge lift to make your life easier? Is there anything specific?
So that's a great question.
Like whether it's cost or something that you hate doing or something that really improves your numbers?
You know, I think reporting, like we've kind of leaned more on the creative strategy side and content acquisition because that's been a big driver in terms of the media buying performance. And one thing that we like to do is like analyze the data, but there's so many different ways that you can break down the data. You know, there's by demographic, there's by placement, there's, you know, dynamic creative variable, copy, etc. And we still have our guys go in and do manual reports. Granted, it might only take like 10 minutes once a week per brand. But if we're working with 20 brands, that's like hours on payroll that are kind of useless, or that they might be missing out on things that otherwise could be more efficiently analyzed, right? Or reported. And so I think some people know how to run paid media, but they don't know what they're looking at to make like optimization decisions. So I think that's, it's a problem that it can be solved with manual intervention, but it can be expedited with automated intervention.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that we're actually working on is, and a part of the software is like at the offer level. So like every business, whether you have a digital service or like a physical SKU, like everything is an offer, right? We want to tie in like your specific offer. So it could be like for a landing page or a product page, tie that into all the creatives that you launch from our suite, and then go back to the offer level and see which creatives performed, where they fell in the placement, the inside of Facebook, like which ones are performing better than others. Because obviously you could launch like a multitude of different campaigns with different objectives, different ideas. You could see where those conversions are coming from. Again, that's going to go more hand in hand with some of the attribution, but that's a quick little preview of one thing that we're working on for long term as well, as a mix of that, to be able to understand like how your offers are performing at a holistic level rather than a campaign to campaign or ad to ad basis. And then also just more degrees of autonomy where like we could take that specifically and steer the budget, the like manual placements and also ads to what is working more than anything else. Because like we said, like Meta is a for-profit company. They're going to spend your budget a little bit recklessly. They give you like the dopamine hit, like the really good performance one day. The next day, it's typically going to be pretty shit.
Yeah.
So
it's like an abusive relationship.
Yeah, it's a little toxic.
It's good enough to where you're going to stick around, but like, sometimes it's not good.
It's like a casino. Like the ebbs and flows, it's like what keeps you there, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's still going to drive huge revenue to your business. So you're going to stick around even if you do have the worse days than normal. But we want to try and like put the power back into the advertiser's hand, as Meta is clearly making tons of profit from their ads. We want everyone to be able to run better ads in an easier way.
Yeah. Another thing we've been doing is like just trying to isolate, like what's the main constraint of like, what's the singular constraint of that's not allowing this funnel to be as profitable as it can be. And so, you can have one constraint with, let's say 3 different funnels where it's, when I say funnel, I mean like product, like from creative to landing page. So let's say there's a brand, for easy terminology, that has one offer and that has a couple creators they're testing, et cetera. We try to go in and say like, what's that one number that we can improve by like a small amount, but that would make a marginally large like difference. And a lot of times that happens at like the creative level.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, if everything remains constant, but we take this 1% click-through rate and we increase that to a 2% click-through rate, we double our business, right?
Yeah.
Or if everything at the ad level stays constant, but we take our conversion rate from 1% to a 2%, theoretically, it doubles our business. So we've been doing a much better job at isolating that, what that one kind of limiting constraint is, solving that, and then moving on to like some of those other layers, instead of what a lot of people do, which is like split test everything all at once and then not know what worked, what didn't work. So split testing is another thing that I know that you mentioned that I think is going to be huge with the platform.
Yeah, we're really excited about that because you can't improve what you don't know the numbers behind, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing, and running those different variables to pull different levers and find out what combination is going to perform best.
I love this, dude. Tony, you're the man. We'll do the third one in a year from now.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll do the third one in a year from now. We'll see.
Maybe we'll do it in like Greece or something.
We do it in Greece. We do it in Tampa. We do it in Tampa.
We could.
Yeah. That was just sick. Definitely check out @CopyAI. Follow Tony on like Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're at.
We'll link it all in the description.
I'm there from time to time.
Yeah, you're there from time to time. Bother the guy. The guy knows so much shit that like a lot of people don't know. So yeah, he's very dude, you're put together as fuck. I appreciate you coming out here.
Yeah, thank you for
coming on. Is there any
on.
sponsors on this? Probably, is there a sponsor on this thing?
I don't want to say their name because we haven't finished it. But if there has been, it will have been all throughout this episode, and you'll hear it in the next one.
Yeah, and
so
definitely
thank
check
you,
them out,
potential sponsor.
Because like I think I know who it is, but like we're not 100% sure on them. But if it's them, check.
If it is them, they're awesome.
Legit. They're awesome.
Shout out them.
Yeah. Anyways, catch you on number 77.
Yeah, we'll see you in 77.
See you guys.